Welcome to Help with Coding. Today I'll be showing you all how to write a for loop in Java. Let's say we have a problem where we want to add all the numbers in an array together. How can we achieve that? The answer is simple. We use for loops. In this example, I've already defined two variables. The first variable is an integer array called array of numbers. This has all the integer values that we want to add together and then store in total, which is the second variable I've defined, which currently equals 0. But let's change that. The first thing we're going to write in this for loop is the word for. Then we will follow that up with an open parenthesis, open curly bracket, close curly bracket. Inside the parentheses is where our logic is going to lie for how the for loop is going to run. The first thing we write in the for loop is going to be a statement. Generally, these statements, when you're dealing with lists, are essentially your starting points. So for us, we want to start at the very first position in our array of numbers because we want to add every single one. So what I'm going to write here is int counter equals 0. All this is saying in relation to our problem is that we want to start at position 0 inside the list of array of numbers. Now, how do we tell this list when we want to stop looping? When do we finish? What we're going to do here is when we get to the end of array of numbers, we want this to stop. So here in the second statement, we are going to add the logic for it to stop when it gets to that point. So first I'm going to write counter, and counter, which you'll see in the third statement, will keep updating until it gets to this point, which is less than the array of numbers dot length. What that second statement is saying is that we will keep running this for loop while counter is less than array of numbers dot length. You might ask though, if counter is equal to 0, counter will always be less than the length of array of numbers. And you would be right there until we add this third statement. This third statement is going to be counter plus plus. So this is how our for loop progresses. So every time our for loop runs, if it holds true that counter is less than array of numbers dot length, we will add one to the counter once it finishes running. So now that we have our for loop laid out, let's write the logic inside of it to start adding all the numbers together. We will just write total plus equals array of numbers. Since this is an array, we want to define where we are in it, and we're going to use counter. Like I mentioned before, this is the index of it. And if we do that and we save and we run the program, we should see, if we go to our terminal, that it prints out 55, which is exactly what we want to see. So going back to the code here, let's take another look and slow it down a little bit. So again, we write for, and the first is just a statement. In most cases, for an array list or an array, this will be your starting point. This does not have to be 0. This could be any number in your array or array list. The second statement is the condition for this for loop to run. We want to run this for loop while the counter is less than array of numbers dot length. If the counter is less than the array of numbers dot length, that means we have not gone to the end of the list yet, right? Because if we think about the positions, right? 1 is at position 0, 2 is at position 1, and so on until it gets to 10 here, which is at position 9. So the array of numbers dot length is equal to 10. So when we get to 10, we want this to stop because there is no more space at the end of this list to check. And if we do check something that is outside of the array of numbers dot length, we will get an error. Hope this was helpful. If you have any other coding questions, feel free to put them down in the comments. See you next time.